next day. And joining us now is the man who's been at Syracuse now for 42 years, Jim Boeheim. Jim, when you hear that number, 42, what comes to mind?
It sounds like forever almost, but it hasn't been forever, but it has been a long time.
How much pride do you take in that you've been not only there for that long, but successful?
I remember sitting in the Big East meetings with John Thompson and Lou Carnesecca, Rolly Massimino, and wondering, how am I going to get through this year? Just get through this year, let alone trying to get through, the next 30 or so. But somehow I'm still standing. Well,
this was supposed to be your last season, but after Mike Hopkins, as we mentioned, left for Washington, you signed an extension. Why?
I just felt it was the right thing to do. We've got a great staff of Syracuse guys, and we have great young players. And, sometimes you do have to leave players. I was afforded an opportunity to stay with a bunch of young players. We have 4 freshmen. We've got only 1 senior on our team. The opportunity to come back and coach those guys it was just something I was thrilled to be able to do. We've been able to kind of put together a pretty good recruiting class for next year. We feel we're in a good position, and coaching's fun when you have good players and you can win.
I want to ask you more specifically about your team in a moment, but you know as well as I do, Jim, when you start talking about leaving and then coming back, then the next question is, well, how much longer does Jim Boeheim want to coach? Do you have that answer right now?
Yeah, I absolutely do, forever.
Okay.
We're not going to get in any trouble with any speculations. I'm going to coach as long as I can. I think too much emphasis is put on age. If I was 60 years old, nobody would ask me that question. I think you can be productive in this world. The smartest guy I know is Warren Buffett, and he's well into his 80s. So if you like doing something and you can be good at it, I don't think age should be any part of the equation.
Yeah, if you can still get it done, age is clearly nothing but a number. But let's talk about this squad. You lost your top 2 scorers from last season, as we mentioned, but you do return Tyus Battle this year, and you do have transfer Geno Thorpe coming in. What is it about this year's roster specifically that has you so excited about the upcoming season?
I love our backcourt. Frank Howard's a junior, Geno Thorpe's a senior. Tyus Battle started every game for us last year. We have 3 guys that we think are really good veteran guards that know how to play. We've got great size. We didn't have that last year. We're 6'5", 6'6", 6'4" in the backcourt. We have a freshman guard that's very talented. So we like our backcourt, very experienced. Our front court is very big, much bigger than last year, but very inexperienced, and we have to bring those guys along. We have 2 young centers, 3 freshman forwards. They're going to have to play and play well for us to be successful, but we like them. We think they're good players, and we think that they have a chance to be really good defensive players right off the bat, which is an area that we really were hurt in last year. So we're excited about our team. We think we've got a long ways to go to get where we want to go, but we have that kind of potential.
Well, as usual, the ACC is expected to be another tough conference schedule this year, but it will look a little bit differently, especially with the dismissal of your good friend Rick Pitino as a coach at Louisville. What impact do you think, Jim, that his firing will have on the conference this year?
Well, I mean, Louisville's got great players. They're going to have a great team. I think Rick had built that team, and they're not going to go away because he's not there. He's made those players. He's taken a lot of guys that weren't that highly recruited and made them all into potential first-round picks, 3 or 4 of those guys. So Louisville will be very good. The league will be good. You know that. There's really not any weakness in our league. Every team in our league has the potential to beat you, and that was the case last year. That'll be the case this year. We've got 4 or 5 teams that will be in the top 20 in the country, and then we've got 4 or 5 other teams that think they can be in the top 20 in the country, and by the end of the year we'll see who makes it.
Of course, it was a scandal that led to the dismissal of Rick Pitino. There's also academic scandal, if you will, alleged scandal there at North Carolina, but Roy Williams and his squad will not face any NCAA discipline for those particular allegations. As someone who's had their issues with the NCAA in the past, Jim, what's your take on what happened with North Carolina, more specifically what didn't happen?
Well, I think that it's interpretation. The committee interpreted us as not being in charge, not overseeing the academic part too much. There was a paper written that we didn't really know about, probably couldn't have known about it, and we were held accountable for it. The North Carolina case is different. Their academic things were obviously very large, but it was determined by the committee that the institution could not have known about or did not know about that sufficiently to charge them with anything. And I think, obviously the staff, NCAA staff, thought differently, but the coach's responsibility, the institutional responsibility is, it's kind of a gray area in my mind that can be interpreted different ways, and they interpret it different with the North Carolina case than they've done with other cases. But that happens if you look at the history of the NCAA committees, enforcement committee, there are differences in how they have interpreted things, and they have their reasons for and their justifications for what they did.
And those interpretations have been criticized for quite some years, and sometimes deservedly so. Syracuse opens the season November 10th against Cornell, and that's when Coach Jim Boeheim would tip off his 42nd season there with the Orange. Jim, we appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us. Good luck this season.
Thank you very much.